Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tips and Tricks for World of Tanks episode 2. You guys responded wonderfully on the first episode, so I thank you very much for that, and let's look at some more facts and interesting things about World of Tanks. Now, I started off last episode bullying the Americans, but the UK tanks have much the same flaws. You look at something like the Tortoise and you discover, oh my, it's got 101mm of arse armor. I'm never going to be able to pen these things with HE, but then you look at the Badger and it's got 38. And this is a theme. Here's a hard and fast rule for you. If it's tier 8, British, a regular tech tank, or any tier 8 and above in the British tech tree, it has about 30mm of arse armor. The only exceptions to these are the Arty, oddly enough, and the AT-15. All these other tanks, Jangneer, Conway, FE, Centurion, Super Kong, Centurion, Carnarvon, other Centurion, they all have 30mm of arse armor. So load that HE and get those high damaging shots on these high tier British tanks. It's all too easy for us to go after Arty expecting an easy kill. However, some demand some more caution if we attempt to kill them. This is the tier 10 British Arty, the CGC. It has a quirk, and that quirk is its upper plate armor rivals that of some heavy tanks in the game. Do not shoot this thing in the upper plate, you will have a bad day. Likewise, the tier 3 American M7 Priest, do not shoot it in the upper plate. As a general rule of thumb, if you want to be absolutely certain to pen Arty, shoot them in the superstructure. They all, across the board, have very poor armor the higher up the tank you go. If you want to be sure of a HE pen, shoot them there. That applies for every Arty in the game, except for one. The brother in arms of the M7 Priest, the T-18, used to be a T-18 Tier 2 tank destroyer, the Seal Clubber's dream. It's maintained some characteristics from its former self, such as a 48 km/h speed limit and frontal armor of 50mm pretty much all over. This thing is ridiculous. You are tier 3 facing things like Panther 1Cs. You can have some awfully shameful fun with this thing. Let's finish up this point with the M40M for the 3. This is an Arty at a tier where you're likely to be using HE to try and two-shot these Arty. 400 hit points on this bad boy, but it has a lower plate that will feck your chances of penning, reinforcing the notion I mentioned earlier. If you want to be sure of penetrating Arty with your HE, aim as high on the vehicle as you can. If you can't remember the exact armor profiles of each artillery piece, it's best to err on the safe side and put your HE shells in where you know the armor is going to be weak. The Tiger P, an incredibly poor and out of meta tank. The Ferdinand, which is based on the hull of the Tiger P. Let's look at what's special about the hull of these vehicles. It's worth noting that everything I say here will apply to the Ferdinand as well. The Tiger P's armor, it says it's 200mm, that only applies in these short bands across the front. The lower plate is paper, as is the cupola, but what is extremely useful to know about these tanks, the Tiger P and the Ferdinand, is that side scraping is a huge weakness for them. Not only is their side armor only 80mm, but this becomes easier to see if you look at the visual model. These slants on the edge of the armor, they are on the same band as that 200mm, but even when it is facing you perfectly, they are 100mm almost less thick. Any tank that this thing meets can easily go through these cheeks, especially when the vehicle starts to sideswipe. I have penned these vehicles with HE in a KV2 by shooting directly here. This applies on the Tiger P and the Ferdinand. You want to pen these things ridiculously easily aim for these weak sides. Now, I mentioned this on my stream occasionally. The KV-13 is a very unusual medium tank, not just because it has the hull armor of the IS with the mobility of a medium with a slightly weaker turret, but also because of its placement in the tech tree. It's not immediately obvious, but the KV-13 does not help you progress to any Tier 8 tank. This is a Tier 7 vehicle that only leads to the IS and the A44, both Tier 7 tanks. What that means is that it's a very rare tank to be played because it doesn't help people progress to where they want to get. However, what that also means is that most people who play it are not that skilled at the game, which has resulted in the KV-13 being excellent for W&8, and also a tank that's rather easy to get your marks of excellence on. So, if you're an average to middling player, and you'd like a flexible, reasonably challenging tank to try and get a third mark on, the KV-13 might be a good bet for you. A fact that's interesting that not a lot of people know. We're all familiar, we've been playing World of Tanks for a while, the necessity of unlocking and searching the upgraded tracks so that you can mount additional modules and equipment and such. If I try to fully upgrade my T-29, I want to put the radio on, I want to put the top turret on, I can't put this turret on because it's too heavy. I have to search the upgraded suspension. But let's say I do not want to do that. I just want to blaze through, or I have something that I want to get first. I want to stop using a stock gun. I want to get the upgraded engine. I want to do this, not whatever. What you can do, you can come down here and you can find, where are we? Enhanced torsion bars. Now, this is an overlooked piece of equipment. What it actually does is it's going to enable me, if I put them on my vehicle, to not have to search the tracks. I can now happily mount this upgraded turret, and I can mount this upgraded gun without ever needing to spend all that XP on the tracks. Now, yes, I've used an equipment slot, but on the odd occasion that you just don't feel like dumping 10,000, 15,000, however much XP into the tracks and you want to press on, might be worth considering purchasing some torsion bars for your vehicles. So, as last time, I'm going to include an additional fun fact that won't necessarily help you in gameplay, but is interesting to know about the game. And today, we're going to look at the Challenger. The Challenger is a British tank destroyer that was based on the hull of the Cromwell. However, it had a turret that was manufactured very differently, and it included one special feature, that being a counterweight on the back of the turret, which is modelled in World of Tanks, meaning that on the back of the turret of the Challenger, there is a piece of armour looking shockingly outplaced that is 200mm thick. That is the same as the upper frontal plate of a mouse or an E100. Now, is this usable in-game? Probably not, unless you did some very weird, sexy reverse side-scraping maneuver. If you can pull that off, you deserve a fecking medal. Not useful in game, but it is funny. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. What was your favourite fact in this video? Was it helpful to you? Let me know in the comments, please do. And yeah, until next time, farewell.